ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Da 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 da! You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy! Seriously? It's showtime.
All right, man, fam. We got Goldfinch talk here on this episode.
Thank God.
Of Mad About Movies. And I don't know if you had guessed that we would be talking about this. Lucky you, because you're in the minority of people who probably thought we would ever dedicate a full episode, 30 minutes of our lives to talking about this movie, considering I haven't read the book. Richard, I don't believe you've read the book. Brian, have you read the book?
Have not, no.
It looks like an awesome book. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, so at the outset, need to let that be out there. If you're listening to this for how the book relates to the movie in specific ways, you're not going to find that. But what you're going to find is three guys who like movies, believe it or not. By some of the reviews Richard alluded to, you wouldn't think we like movies. What we thought.
What if this whole episode was just us being really bitter
just like,
about mild critiques?
Freaking 2 stars. Yeah.
We do love the 2-star reviews. We should say that.
That is
2 stars
favorite,
is really special.
Just go,
but give us 5 stars.
Go
It's nice for us for advertising.
Go all the way to the 1. 2 is what's funny to me.
Yeah, exactly. Feel free to give us a 1. 2 will mock you.
Yeah. So, The Goldfinch, a movie that we had circled earlier in the year, when we talked movie in the movie draft, this was kind of one of the outlier ones that has some star power behind it, has some name recognition behind it, certainly has success behind it when it comes to number of novels that it's sold and the success behind the source material. So this one had all the signs for something that you would think would be well received, if not by the entire community of filmgoers, maybe by the people who know and love the novel. So, they're hitting a very specific audience with this, obviously, probably hoping for a lot more mass appeal than they got. I don't know how, considering this is a 2.5-hour movie. It's a very, very strange movie in a lot of ways, and I'm excited to talk about that with you. But, I compare this to movies that we've talked about around this time of year, almost every year. The Girl on the Train is one. Murder on the Orient Express was one a couple of years ago as well. These adult adaptations, aimed towards the 35 and up crowd of these novels that are successful, and they put them out in late September, early October, and they all have mild success, and it's fine, and everybody moves on, and everything's great. This was by far the worst one of those movies that we've seen. I can't quite put my finger on why, because I can't say it's uninspired, because everybody involved with this obviously took this because they were fans of the source material, everything. And so everybody had the right intentions going into this. It's just a classic case of it not working, and I'm honestly surprised the screenplay got as far as it did, or, the production even got as far as it did, because it just doesn't feel like a movie in any way. It doesn't have the pacing of a film. It's just a bunch of scenes assembled in a timeline. There's no real coherence there's no real arc to the story, which is sad because, the research that I did do after the movie on Theo and everything, it's a really interesting story, and it's really well told, and it's a shame that it's not more well told here. But, it's to me, it's a case of everybody going in with the right intentions and the most disastrous results happening at the end of it. And, the stars haven't made it much better. They've all kind of publicly denounced the project. since then, saying, I think Nicole Kidman has said she was disappointed with it. Sarah Paulson said she wished it would have been an HBO series or like a 7-part thing where they could have really dug into the material more. And so that's not what you want. And, you know, despite all that, this thing made $2 million. I was blown away at that. I mean, we like to say all the time that, you know, we're in the minority of people who pay attention to this type of stuff, you know, negative reviews, buzz, all that kind of thing. But $2 million, I mean, you would think just the people that knew what the Goldfinch was, or, oh, Nicole Kidman's got a movie coming out, or, oh, Ansel Elgort was really good in this thing that I saw, would have gone and saw this, and it would have made more than that. It's honestly surprising. I can't believe it made $2 million. I never would have expected that. No, I expect it to be good? Not necessarily, but I never would have expected it to make $2 million. Even if it was 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, I thought this would make money, at least the first weekend, just because of name recognition and all of that. But, man, don't know where to start with this one much, but Brian, take over from here.
Yeah, you said a lot of stuff that I'm totally on board with. It's, you know, we make these schedules as far out, and just from the show standpoint, kind of a little inside baseball, we make the schedule out as far in advance as I can, and then we kind of revisit as it gets within a month or two. And I'm totally with you. I thought this may not be a movie that I'm gonna love or dig, and it may not even be good, but it's got kind of a built-in audience, and it should make $10 or $12 million and finish, I don't know, second or third at the box office, and that's fine. We got to have content. We'll talk about that. I didn't know until this evening that it had only made $2.6 million and just had completely lost it as far as its kind of cultural relevancy. That was a shock to me, because this book, it feels like this book was everywhere the year that it came out. Like, it felt like I couldn't talk to a human being who wasn't reading the Goldfinch at that time, and I expected some of that to carry over to the movie, and it did not. Did not do that at all. I saw a lot of people, our friend Adrian on Twitter, and others too, kind of shared the sentiment of Sarah Paulson that this is like a 770-page book, and it needed to be a miniseries, not a movie. I would certainly agree with that over this movie. You know, like, this movie is a real mess, but I think you're right, Kate. Like, we see a lot of bad movies over the years that we've done this thing. We've seen plenty of bad movies, and a lot of times you can be like, gosh, this was a disaster from minute one of pre-production. This was a disaster. And sometimes it's just like, well, it just wasn't very good, or it wasn't very uninspired, or something like that. This one is like, I mean, everybody involved. This is a pretty good assemblage of talent, right, on screen and off screen, and everybody, I think, is trying their hardest. There's some ambition to the movie, and there's a lot that's happening that's like, it's almost like you can just applaud the effort, which is rare for a movie that is as bad as this is. I feel like it just, usually we can come in here and be like, gosh, this sucked, and it's because of this and that. And this one, it's just like, well, it's bad because of, here's some of the things that we're going to point out, but all of those things, even in their badness, feel like, well, it was an honest effort. It wasn't just a complete crap show from the get-go. If we'd read the material, one of us, we'd have a better understanding of like why people gravitated towards this so much and how it could have been told. I would say that is the biggest problem that I have with the movies, the layout of the film and the way that it tries to tell its non-linear story is very clearly, there's way too much packed into this book that they're trying to disseminate into a 2.5 hour movie that felt like a 7 or 8 hour movie. I mean, this was like one of the most unbearable film experiences I've had in a really long time. Just sitting there, just like, please God, let this end. I just want to go home. This is just such a drag. So maybe that would have changed things if you go the mini series route and kind of tell this story in a little bit more straightforward way. But you know, at the end of the day, it's like, I guess I would say, I mean, I think it has some ambition, and I applaud the effort, but goodness, what a bad movie. And despite how many movies there have been this year that have disappointed, that have been underwhelming or lackluster or whatever, I haven't seen too many that are just straight bad movies, like bottom 5, bottom 10 of the year kind of terrible movies. But this one sure is. This one definitely makes that list, I think, at the end of the year. But not great, and certainly not what anybody involved with this was going for. What about you, Arby? Where you stand?
F minus. Oh, we're not there yet. Okay. Yeah, this one's weird because it seems. Yeah, I didn't really follow this as much as I normally would. You know, this is the kind of movie that we all pine for. This like
yes,
$40 to $70 million movie, like Ken said, movie for adults. Not an adult movie, but a movie that you go to. I was so good there, and then you had to just bring your filth, Kent. No, but like. This is the movie we all want, you know, and so much of this kind of content, as you alluded to earlier, Brian, is on streaming platforms now and stretched out, especially if it comes from a book. You know, the cool thing about these limited series now is that you can properly adapt a book, or at least more properly so than one could, you know, 10 years ago when it had to be a movie, when it was either Grey's Anatomy or a film. You know, there was no. The limited series thing model didn't really exist, and now you can tell a story over 6, 8, 10 episodes and really get into all the stuff of a book. And so, you know, this is, but when you hear this is being adapted by a movie and they put real money, rather adapted into a movie and they put real money behind it, and it's not a little $3 million indie, and this is a movie like, you know, this is what we used to go see. It's such a bummer when something like this fails because we always talk about it, Brian. It's like it disproves that model to an extent, but also like if it was good, it would make money. It's like just make good stuff and it will figure out a way to be profitable. That isn't always the case. MacGruber, perfect example. But for the most part, good stuff makes money. Bad stuff loses money. It's one, you know, a lot oddly as convoluted as media can be, it's one of the most meritocratist, I don't know if that's a word, but meritocratist things in the world is that like good content tends to be make more money than bad content, and that's a good thing. And this just sucked. I mean, this was I could see. I haven't read this book. I was really interested in the book and just haven't gotten to it. I don't read a ton of fiction, and so I read probably like 7 novels a year, and so this is getting there.
Those
but I haven't
all James Patterson books,
obviously, and Daniel Silva. I don't know, but only James Patterson where he's wearing the hat on the back cover. If he's not wearing a hat, I'm out. That's when you know he phoned it in. But yeah, so I haven't gotten to this yet, and I don't know if I will now. It sucks because this movie, you know, it's like it did kind of ruin that for me. Who knows? But I can see where this would be an interesting novel with the sort of flashes and everything. And I can see how it would be difficult to adapt, certainly in 2 hours or 7 hours or however long this was. And I can see it's just a bummer that they tried this poorly. And it's a bummer for me more in a macro sense of like, I don't need a ton, but can we get 4 to 6 $40 million movies that are interesting and thought-provoking a year? And this just really kicks that in the nuts. It's Amazon, right, that did this? I mean,
yeah, it's a weird. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead. By all means.
It's a co-production, and
okay.
That's another reason why it's kind of a book. Because you're totally right. Like that's things that we want. This is the kind of movie that we really want more of, and also, they went the producers of the movie went out and I think it's Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers was like, I mean, we'd love to be in this, but
Of course it is. That's why it sucks.
Yeah, I know. We're not going to give you $40 million to do this. And they went to Amazon essentially and said, what would you be willing to co-finance this? And so honestly, because this movie turned out to be such a bummer, that's the most interesting part of this whole thing, is that instead of Warner Brothers financing the film and then selling the licensing rights for, in-home stuff to HBO or whatever, they co-produced this, co-financed it, and then Amazon will get to put it on Prime, in like a week when this is out of theaters or whatever. But it was a really interesting way to go about getting this movie made. And now you're going to be like, well, it didn't work for Goldfinch, so we're not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it really sets a bad precedent for an interesting way to get more movies like this to us. So, sorry. Anyway.
No. By all means. So that's a real bummer. Hopefully there'll be something later this year that's a real runaway. What's the Joker budget? It's like 70 or
30. It was like 30 or 50.
Oh, it's less?
It was like a low. Yeah. It was it was one of those things like Todd Phillips came to them, said, hey, I got this idea for Joker.
Yeah.
Can I have 30 million? And they're like, okay, yeah.
Google has it at 55.
Yeah. So it's not
slightly higher than this, but hopefully that's success. I mean, again, that's a character that a lot more people are familiar with than the Goldfish, most likely, but hopefully that'll the Goldfish. But the flavor blasted.
Yeah.
If they had flavor blasted this, I was all in.
Flavor blasted Goldfinch.
Yeah, that was my problem with it. It wasn't flavor blasted. I needed that pure salt flavor. So that's a bummer. Hopefully we'll have a couple more experiments in this budget in the rest of the year that are successful to not scare people off. Because as a 32-year-old dude, like, this is the kind of stuff I'm interested in. I mean, I'm not a snob. I like a good Marvel movie, but we have 6 of those a year or whatever. I like the idea of going to the movie and not crazy French, $1.5 million budget art films, but like something kind of in the middle there. We don't get that much anymore, and it's a bummer this wasn't better. Sorry, I've talked too long.
You're absolutely right. If they would have flavor blasted this, it would have been pizza flavor blasted.
That's going to be my Rotten Tomatoes review. My blurb.
Please do that.
What if when he finally did pull off the newspaper for the first time and looked at it, the fake painting, it was a picture of a flavor blasted goldfish? It's
just the goldfish from the Mike Myers version of Cat in the Hat. That's it. Just the weird.
Yeah, or the three-eyed.
Yeah, that's that thing.
Simpsons,
Yeah.
And the score is really weird there too. It's like, wow, wow, when he looks at it and it closes in real fast. Yeah. I'm in, honestly. That's 2 letter grades better right off the bat.
Brian, I thought this was a bad movie. But I did not think this was a sub 20% on Rotten Tomatoes type of film. I thought it was just something that fell flat. Really good intentions, people giving it their all. Also Ogort trying to do the best with what he could. The little kid actors all doing their thing. Finn Wolfhard doing some Russian accents. Like, everybody's giving it their all. Like, dude, like, we're doing this thing, and it just didn't work. And I'm just surprised that, Rotten Tomatoes, we're familiar with it. It's a recommend or don't recommend. And 99 out of 100 critics are not going to recommend this based on what we've talked about. The fact that it's unbearable to watch and all that. But, like, when you're watching this, I mean, this thing is shot by Roger Deakins, good director, everything, like, you would think 90% of people would be totally fine with this movie and not see anything wrong with it. Does that make sense?
Here's my pushback to that, because
I think it's one you would like, Kent, because you are so technical.
No,
You'll
I wasn't talking about the technical. I'm not talking about the technical.
The Deakins part of it.
The Deakins part was great, but like, I was really interested in, like, and again, I had no familiarity with this property other than loosely knowing the Theo storyline, right? But I really like the story of the painting and the fact that the painting like lasts through generations, like the kind of cloud atlas thing of it's surviving tragedy and people, you know, it means there's something kind of spiritual about it, you know, and art in general. And it's kind of a satire for that, you know, and I like that. And you mentioned it, Ryan. I like the reveal of him finding the painting or not finding the painting. I didn't know that about that. And I was like, wow, that's a really good, or should have been a better moment. Right. But like, there's so much about this that like, I was intrigued by, you know, and I was like wondering, why isn't this working the whole time? Because like the individual parts aren't bad, but the whole is, you know, it's like, it's like a pie that's every part is made of like a different candy. It's like chocolate candy and fruit candy, you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to put some M&Ms and some Skittles. Like individually, they're great, but when you eat them together, it's like the most deadly, disgusting thing you've ever had in your mouth. That's what it felt like. This is the movie equivalent of putting Skittles and M&Ms in your mouth together and eating it. That's my blurb for Rotten Tomatoes.
That's perfect. I was there for about an hour of like, this is not good, but it's not horrendous. It's not the end of the world. And look, it's Deakins. He's doing cool stuff with the camera, and yeah, if you're just grading on intention and try hard, they all are trying really hard on screen, and maybe we're not cast correctly or we're not giving good direction. I want to talk about whatever his name is and his facial expressions later. But after a while, I got to a place where I was like, I'm actually angrier that Roger Deakins is shooting this so beautifully, because the rest of it, it's not just his part, but like, you know, he's a good director and there's talent on screen. It started to feel not just like, man, this is a waste, but like, I don't know, like what if Roger Deakins was directing a Cricket Wireless commercial? You know, it's like, this is so bad. Why is Roger Deakins part of this? Like, it started to make me angry that part of it was good, and that the talent assembled for this is pretty high quality, and then they're just doing this movie that's kind of, I wouldn't even say that it's bleak, but it's just kind of unrelenting in its blurredness, you know, and it's bleak. You just kind of you sit in this world where I'm like, I don't want to spend 2.5 hours in the world that has been created here, at least in the way that it is presented. You're right, Kent. Like maybe the most interesting part. I started to say best. No, and then I had to cut myself. The most I don't even.
Not interesting. Yeah, it's not interesting. You can't go there either.
The stuff about the Goldfinch and its history, that's really cool. That should have been in the first 20 minutes of the movie. To hold that until almost the last 20 minutes, and then to like drop it in there as like a it was treated as if that was a recurring theme of the movie, and it super was not a recurring theme of the movie, but it definitely could have been. I don't know, man. It just, again, part of it is the intent. Like, gosh, you tried hard, guys, but I would think that looking at this script before we ever got into production, you could say, hey guys, this script doesn't work. Like, you tried, you overthought
This isn't a movie. Yeah. Like, this is a script, but it's not a movie.
Totally. It's you have 7 different 20-minute pieces that don't really feel connected, and you're going to try and string them together, but there's not any connective thread to do that. And the time shifts are very jolting, but also, man, it's just not interesting. It's not interesting. And I think that's a big, and I don't know anything about the source material. I had a couple of people who I really trust opinion-wise on books who read this and were just like, it's terrible. I don't know how so many people are enjoying it. And that, like, not to say, oh, 2 people told me it's bad, so it's bad. It's just, from what I gathered, I was like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this book. And then the movie, same kind of thing. It all comes out in the movie. Just like, gosh, it's just not an enjoyable. And that sounds super shallow. I don't need movies and books and TV to be peppy and happy and happy fun time all the time, you know. But I do need, if it is going to be bleak, if it is going to be dour, if it is going to be this kind of hard. I texted Richard during the movie. I was like, "This reminds me of on 30 Rock, the Tracy Morgan movie that he did to win the Oscar, the hard to watch movie or whatever." It's just like, golly,
It's like a fake like Tropic Thunder trailer.
Yes, totally. I mean, look,
The
we talked about
Goldfinch.
we talked about Shawshank Redemption last week in the VIP, and that's a movie that has some really, really dark things that happen, and it stays in that place for a while, and yet it is also hopeful, and it's an interesting story, and you really care about the characters. And maybe if you read the book, you felt that way in the book, or you wanted to feel that way in the movie, or you did feel that way. I don't know. But for me, I'm like, gosh, I don't give a rip about any of these characters and the themes and the stories and all that. It's just not interesting enough to keep me on board in the midst of all this just slogging through kind of. It's not even melodrama because it's all really dramatic stuff, but just so much drama that doesn't really amount to anything for me.
Yeah. Richard, any rebuttal?
Certainly no rebuttal. Yeah, no. We do this every once in a while. There'll be a movie that's bad to mediocre to whatever, and we'll say, this was graded X, but it felt, at least it was short, and I bump it up a letter grade because they got it. And this felt like Brian said, 14 hours. I mean, everyone, we've had several friends tell us, this would have been better as a limited series. Are we sure it wasn't already a limited series? I just had to sit there for what felt like 7 hours. No, I'm sure, where you could break it up and things like that. But yeah, I mean, this was just unrelentingly long, and for that kind of, I think what Brian was saying, just to piggyback a bit, is for something to be that sort of bleak and unfun, not everything needs to be Hobbs and Shaw. I get that, but the degree of difficulty on something, it better be pretty darn good if something's going to be that. Schindler's List isn't a barrel of laughs, but it's such a great film, and this is not. But with that same kind of, you never know, can't. What's going to be more depressing minute to minute, and it's just that's just a hard thing for me to forgive as not just a critic, but as an audience member.
Yeah, what's the payoff for all this? That's what I kept saying to myself. At what point, what's the payoff going to be for what I have just put myself through for this whole movie?
Yeah, I totally feel you in that. Sometimes that happens, and we got to kind of react accordingly, which we're doing. Let's double back on something you said earlier, Brian. Also, Elgort, no charisma, in my opinion. Don't like him. Not a fan.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I liked him in Baby Driver.
I liked Baby Driver. I didn't like necessarily him in Baby. I thought he was kind of like punchable, if that's a word. But
I love Baby Driver, and I liked him in Baby Driver. I'm trying to look through his IMDb, and I don't know that there's ever been anything else that I've liked him in. So maybe
he's the worst of the
I didn't like him as Han Solo.
Taron Egerton's, yeah.
Or Elton John. I didn't like him.
Yeah. Taron Egerton's by far the best of that group.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. If I could tell the difference, I'd be able to agree or disagree. No, I don't know that this is the right. No, let's go stronger. This is not a good role for him. Period. If maybe he's good, maybe he's not. I don't know, but I know this is a bad role for him because it required a level of charisma for sure, and just it's hard to act in the quiet spaces. It's hard to fill scenes in which you're not really saying anything, or certainly not expressing anything with your, language wise, with what you're saying. It's really hard to do that, and some people can do it and some can't. And I would just say, gosh, he can't. And so he's just filling it with so many facial expressions that don't quite fit the mood. It's like, it'd be like if if you're watching The Office and something really funny happened and they cut over to Jim for a facial expression and he's like farting or something, like it doesn't make any sense. Some of the stuff that he was doing on screen did not match, or excuse me, his facial expressions did not match what was happening with the narrative and stuff. And so he's just trying really hard to emote with his eyes, and it fell very flat. To be fair, Nicole Kidman's been very good in stuff in the past, and
she whispers.
I know, too much whisper talk in this
Why
movie
can't
is
she
dull.
have to talk like this and everything?
And
Every
Jeffrey Wright-
single like Nicole, can you?
Yeah,
Can't hear you. Can you? This is what I do, though. Oh, okay, all right. Well, guess that'll do then.
it's just kind of frail in her voice.
Yeah, it's like,
kind
why?
of beating. And Jeffrey Wright, I think, is a very talented actor that I've enjoyed in a lot.
He was the
of
best
stuff.
part of this, in my opinion.
I hated him in this movie. I just later in the movie, absolutely, I was with him. But in the beginning, it was so much of that. I was like, dude, you are straight up putting me to sleep. This is so quiet and lame and boring. And that kid Oaks Fagley, I thought he was really good in Pete's Dragon a few years ago, and I actively wanted to punch him on screen. He was unbearable to me. Finn Wolfhard, same things. That accent that should have never gotten to a screen. And I don't want to be like, I'm not accent guy of like, oh, it's not 100% authentic or anything. I don't really care that much, but that was a horrendous Russian accent, and that should have been the type of thing where somebody says, hey, we're either gonna recast him or we're gonna cut the Russian thing. We're gonna make him not Russian, okay? Because he can't do this. He can't do it. We'll refigure that part of the
Cut
script
out the
or
whole Boris
something.
thing, and then he has a flashback to a friend, and he does drugs, and that's the only reason Boris is in the movie is
Right.
because he's the guy who makes him go down a bad path. Like, okay, we get it, got it, cool.
Yeah,
let's move.
Totally agree. And it's just really, really difficult to stay with. So all that to say, Ansel Elgort, he may be I don't know, maybe he's a great actor. I'm saying, what my point is, he was in no way, shape, or form put in a position clearly in which he was going to be able to come through and do what was being asked of him. It's just, I don't think it was possible, given that all these other actors and actresses that we've seen do really good stuff were all, I think, misused or directed poorly or whatever the case may be. None of them were good, and all of them have done good stuff in the past. Even Sarah Paulson, who, is really good in a lot of stuff and is in every movie and every TV show, and this you're just like, ugh, what is she doing? This is just kind of a waste of her time and mine as well.
Yeah, I definitely felt that way, man. It's this was one of the most boring affairs.
Yes.
I mean, there's not. Yes. I mean, in a movie, sometimes sweeping novels just should not. I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum already, but sometimes the sweeping novel that captivates the world should never be a thing on the screen. This should have never. First of all, they could have maybe spared some of the backlash had they pulled this from Toronto Film Festival and been like, sorry guys, it's not done. We're gonna wait for the premiere in Hollywood. It's not gonna. It just got eviscerated when you're putting this against actual good movies, that people are proud of and can win awards. This is it was dead in the water. That was the first kind of reactions, and backlash started to come out of that, and that was the studio's fault. Amazon, Warner Brothers, whoever should have seen that coming.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's no way this did well in test screenings, and at some point you just kind of have to not necessarily cut your losses, but mitigate the losses for sure. And putting it at TIFF, and instead of just being like, hey, we're gonna move this to February or something, probably would have been a better. Put it on
Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, look, they spent.
Come on, Amazon, do that. Throw it on there and be like, that's not great, but it's free on Amazon.
Yeah,
whatever.
That may have helped, but they probably overspent a little bit. But for me, again, having not read the book, I would say that this just from what the themes of this movie and what is on screen, I would just suggest it's not filmable. It's not a movie.
Yeah.
It's not a book that's going to translate to a film. And if it is, I would say you need to cut out a lot of the side stories, whatever that may be. Streamline characters, kind of make them take two storylines and pare it down into one.
You're saying you don't want Luke Wilson in this movie?
Gosh, man.
God, he was. That was
bad. So
some
bad.
Sprint commercial level or whatever he did. What was this?
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, that's I totally. It's not great, but yeah, I think if you're gonna make this a film, you're gonna make this a 2 or 2.5 hour movie. I would have said, if they would have asked me, and I have been offering my services, I would have said, you got to cut out. You got 10 stories that are going here. You need to cut 6 of them. Like, let's streamline this, because it ain't gonna work. It's not gonna translate the way you think it is. Clearly.
Speaking of, just kind of the financial aspect of what this movie did, I'm going to name some movies that did better than the Goldfinch last weekend at the box office.
Oh.
Angel Has Fallen, Good Boys, The Lion King,
It's been out for 3 months.
Hobbs and Shaw, and Overcomer, which overcame the Goldfinch at the box
Heyo.
office last week.
Put your sunglasses on in the middle.
I already had them on the whole time. I only
Kent rolls Kara Swisher style.
so to put it in context, the Peanut Butter Falcon made slightly less than this last weekend, and Dora made slightly less than this, and Dora has been out since literally August 1st, I think. So that's kind of just to put it in context. The winners last weekend was It Chapter 2 and Hustlers, with 40 and 30 million respectively. Coming this weekend is Ad Astra, Downton Abbey, and Rambo. So Goldfinch will definitely be gone forever. And we'll never probably talk about this until maybe bottom 10 of the year conversation comes up. But man, this one was rough. I had flashbacks to The Counselor in this one.
Yeah, I did too.
I felt like somebody was trying to mix The Counselor with Boyhood. That's what it felt like. with a lot less windshields, thankfully.
That's what I was gonna say. There's only like 2 things I can remember from The Counselor. And
Bardem's face is the best.
And,
Bardem's face is. It's worth sitting through that movie just to see Bardem's expression.
Man, what
in the windshield.
It's like Cameron surprised him with that.
Yeah,
like he didn't know.
All right, I'm not going to tell you what's about to happen.
Right.
It's not Cameron. It's Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott. But oh my gosh, that was I just flashed back to
the movie that took Cameron Diaz from us.
Oh, Cameron. Sorry, I thought you meant James Cameron. I know. I'm sorry. That was confusing by me. But the movie that took Cameron Diaz from us is it will always be remembered. She never. She was like, I'm good.
No, it's so weird. Yeah.
I'll do Annie, and then I'm out.
A couple of scarring experiences there, I guess. So.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps up Goldfinch talk for good. We might be the only podcast that dedicated
so weird.
this much time.
So weird, man.
I honestly thought this would be like Oscar, like, if not like in contention, it would like make some money and there'd be some good performances in it. And that, this is total at fault of the studio. I don't blame the director. I don't blame anyone. This is the studio completely. The producers.
I blame director and writer. This is for some of this.
I blame the producers.
Horrible.
It's the producer's job to tell the director and writer, "Hey, we need to do a rewrite. Hey, we gotta cut this down. Hey, I thought it's well shot and everything. It's just like, man, it's just like, I can't believe the editor was sitting in the room. It's just like, all right, let's watch this back, and just like, all right, let's just keep going with it, I guess. I guess it's maybe one of those things like the Phantom Menace where you put it all together and you sit in there and you're like, well, it's too long and I can't take anything out because one thing leads to the next, and it's like you just But yeah, they should have spared him at least the criticism from the prestige film crowds, the film festivals.
Yeah,
and the embarrassment, man. I feel bad for honestly, like they're just gonna get questions about this for the rest of the year. So the Goldfinch, like you mentioned Nicole Kidman, like she's having kind of a Kidman-assance right now with Big Little Lies, and has some movies that are doing pretty well. But this is gonna be hard to avoid this one at the Razzies this year. The old age makeup, like her lip was like it was like a mustache of like wrinkled skin that they applied to her to make her look old. I could not stop staring at it. It was
pretty cringy.
It was ooh. All right, this is a Goldfinch. We're gonna grade it out here. I've got the stamp ready, and it's got ink on it. F minus minus minus. Boom. Stamped. Boom. It. Patented.
Nice.
Goldfinch. All right,
F
Richard.
minus for me as well.
Oh.
I'll send you a check.
Yeah, I'll send you a stamp so you can stamp.
Sweet. Thank you.
Triple F minus.
Wow.
We did it, guys.
By the way,
let's Harikari and get out of here.
We mentioned iTunes reviews earlier, I think.
Oh, God.
And
this guy,
the guy that said our grades weren't real grades, is my favorite. It's like there's no such thing as F minus. Like, yeah, we know. That's the joke.
Bit, man. It's the bit.
I love it. Okay, well, I've had enough of this. I'm done. But I want to tease to the VIPs Pulp Fiction talk. And we just did Shawshank Redemption throwback 25 years for both of those movies. We did Shawshank already. It's available. If you want to subscribe now, download it, listen to it right now, you can do so. madaboutmoviespodcast.com/VIP. Do that. And this weekend, the Pulp Fiction episode will be dropping. And also, VIPs, get those questions ready for our AMA. That'll be probably next week as well. So get those questions popping and literally ask us anything. We like the off-the-wall questions. Those are more. The more off-the-wall it is, the more likely it is to be asked. I'll throw that out there, too.
Tired of talking about movies is what we're saying.
Yeah. That's our chance. Hey, you've got us for 30 minutes, and if you pay us more, an hour. Ayo. But that's the time's yours, and do what you want with it. But until then, Brian, where can I find you online?
You can find me on the Twitter, bgill12. You can find my writing at madaboutmoviespodcast.com and the Mad About Movies podcast newsletter, which will be out this week. Richard, where can I find you?
You can find me all the same places and at Richard Barden on the social. Kent, where can I find you?
At Kent Garrison on the Twitter and social. And find us at madaboutmoviespodcast.com. All our episodes are on there. Blogs, movie draft, American Treasures, everything we do and talk about can be found there 24 hours a day. And we'll see the patrons later this week to talk Pulp Fiction. Excited about that. But until then, we'll see you at the cinema. Goodbye.
See you.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face.
They're making me yah-yah. The salads and scrambled eggs.
They're calling again.